Hi Kansas City, welcome back to Here in KC, and today I have someone really special, dear to my heart, that I want to share with you guys. She is not local here, but she does frequent here in Kansas City, and most of the time it's to see me, which I feel very special about that. But her name is Soroka, and she specializes in health sciences. And through her health sciences and experience with research and her traveling, she's going to talk to us a little bit about just her background, but also how she uses her experiences to help her and inspire and also help people with holistic healing. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Soroka. Welcome.
Hi everyone. Hi Kansas. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. Oh, other than that, I didn't mention she happens to be my best friend.
Right.
So,
I mean, important part.
Yes. Okay. So Hannah, can you? I can talk about you literally all day. So, I'm your hype woman here.
Right.
Can you just tell us a little bit about just your background in, with health sciences, and then just a little bit of your travels and how that has helped you to kind of develop this approach of holistic science?
Absolutely. So when I was like 22, I went on a hiking trip, and I was looking for my purpose. And on this kind of a trip, it's a spiritual journey in some regard, and that hike had shown me my way. So I went to school at a university called Rush University, mm-hmm. And I specialize in health sciences. From there, what really happened was that science brought me back to nature. I understand that being with nature ultimately is the healthiest lifestyle that you can live. And so I've submerged myself into that lifestyle.
Yeah, and you've traveled through Europe. Mm-hmm. You took part in 2 walks that are huge, correct?
I actually went on 5.
Oh,
so I've actually hiked.
Sorry, Kansas City.
Okay.
She went on 5, not 2, and yeah. I'm her best friend here.
Right, that's okay. I've hiked probably 1,000 miles across Europe, and the idea is that the journey El Camino de Santiago was the main journey that I went on, and the idea is that what you don't have will be provided for you. So when you're on the journey, you ask, you ask for assistance, and it will provide. And in my case, it did. It told me to go to school. It told me to go into health science. It told me that I wasn't only going to submerge into science, but I was also going to submerge into nature.
Yeah, and there's something really special about also the university that you went to, Rush. It's mm-hmm. not just a typical university. Of course, they all have their special, but this one, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So Rush University, not realizing like how much an amazing school and university that it is, university and hospital that it is. But during the pandemic, it's actually one of the 30 designated hospitals to handle pandemics. So it was built for a pandemic. It specializes in that, and so while COVID was going on, I felt like I was getting, news from the source, mm-hmm. and so that was a really special thing to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it. And it just happened to where you were attending the school, and you kind of saw it not firsthand, but you did hear, everything that was happening at the school, and like kind of seeing how this university has its own place to like handle pandemics. You're like, right. Oh, it's happening.
Yes.
Oh, hey, pandemic is happening. So, school with that, and can you tell us a little bit of how let's just tell them a little bit, because we went into recently. We took a trip,
yes,
and we did a road trip. We actually went and we converted a van, and we slept in it for about 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
We
bathed in the rivers. We washed our dishes in the rivers.
Yeah.
We had a portable stove. We cooked all of our own meals, and we just were on a journey trying to find ourselves.
Pretty much. And a lot of that comes with also just background in, her health sciences and healing, and a lot of that with our trip, we discussed that a lot of things that we learned, we want to share that, especially you want to share that with what we experienced. For me also, with a lot of, things that you share with me, which is like breathing exercises, meditations, and things like that, that we are simple that we can do anywhere, and we did that in our trip. And she taught me a lot, but from there is where you develop the idea to where that's something that you want to share with the world pretty much. You kind of saw that as my first, I guess I was your first, what was it called? Your first client, I guess.
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know. Okay, I can say that I'm blessed to have you.
She let me mentor her, through some things that I was learning and, wanted to test out, not just in myself, but with somebody else. And, something especially like breathing. I mean, we breathe automatically, but the fact that we can access our breath means it's meant to be a tool. Mm-hmm. And so it's meant to reset our bodies so that we can adjust ourselves when we're feeling hypertension, especially. I mean, in our society, we live in so much stress and anxiety, and something as simple as giving yourself 3 deep breaths. I mean, it's not just meditation. It's just as simple as breath work and, redistributing your cells with your breath so that everything functions properly. It's very simple for the most part.
It sounds somewhat simple, yes. Right? But living the daily life, especially this year, how humans have just been high stress in every single way, right?
Yes.
That we think of that, it's like, it's the simplicity of just breathing. Mm-hmm. But there's a technique. I mean, it's a practice, right? It is, that becomes a habit, that it seems so simple, but a lot of people don't think about it that way. And when we don't think about it that way. It sounds simple, but it's not something that we all do. And we're all capable. We all have the instruments, the tools to do it. We just have to learn and really focus on how to use them. And really why I'm so excited to have you here and share your education and all that, because you want to help people. You want to help them and guide them in how they can use their body, their temple, as, to help them holistically.
It's their greatest tool. This is the greatest tool we have. If you don't know how to use your greatest tool, how do you, plan to, propel through life? This is the number one tool. So we have to know how to use it. And I think in our society, it's just something that we have suppressed, our understanding of our human body and how to adjust it ourselves. And once again, in a country where we don't have guaranteed health care, you have to know how to take care of your health. It's to me, health is wealth. It's crucially important, and your health is something that will carry you through the hard times. If you have your health, you have everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know, that should be a slogan. If you have your health, that is your everything.
Yes.
So, we took our trip and we kind of had those moments and a lot of that practicing, and we had a little bit of aha moments here and there. Mm-hmm. And of course, we've always, through our 13 years of friendship, 13 years, which is crazy, right? And we think about, we've constantly supported each other. And I think that's beautiful and has helped us grow individually, which takes me to kind of going into our traveling and our trip this year. You have a very, I would say, very special, unique way of flowing through life, right?
Yes.
And a lot of it comes from your experiences with, the Caminos in Europe and going through that, because it is something that everyone can do, but it is definitely difficult, right? So through that, you've applied it to your life. And then just recently, you have new adventures that you will continue to kind of go to. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So when I walked El Camino de Santiago or any of the other hikes that I've done in Europe, really the idea is that what presents in life is for you and that there's no mistake. So when the opportunities present themselves, I take them very literally. Like every opportunity that comes my way, I just take it very literally. And so I move with that without hesitation. It allows me to live without fear. It allows me to realize that my purpose in life is to follow my happiness and to follow the things that present themselves to me. And in moving like that and taking that very literally, like when I see repetitions in life or things flowing easily, to me, that's an obvious sign to keep going and keep doing that. And so while we were on our journey, I knew that I wanted to go farming. I had read, I study immunology, and I've read some books on farming, and just through science, farming is the healthiest lifestyle that you can live. And so I decided that's what I wanted to do. And Hawaii just happened to surface in my life. It just was something that was repetitive, and I took it seriously. And so then I researched, how to work on an organic farm in Hawaii. And really, it's not just Hawaii as a paradise that I was drawn to. It's the integrity of the soil. The land is pure. And so, I wanted to submerge and to see how that could truly affect my physical body and my spiritual self, and so I submerged into that lifestyle.
And part of that came to you, when we talk about it, we talked about it in the trip, and like the idea of yes, I want to go into farming. So while we were on our trip in a car, you were looking at, Missouri could be one of them. You found one in Missouri. There's Missouri. You found one in, of course, Hawaii. Duh, amazing. And then there was one in the Carolinas, right? So you had different options. For the longest time, we're like, Missouri, I can have my best friend so close to me. I was like, yes. But then Hawaii came up, and we talked about it, and I was like, Hannah, just apply, just do it. And we thought the process was going to take maybe weeks or a month or something to reply. No, this girl calls me in days, and she's like, by the way, I'm in the conversation with people in Hawaii. They have an opening. Great, we had that conversation. A couple days later, she goes and says, by the way, I have a date. This is the day that I'm going to Hawaii. And all of that was within less than a month, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So you're making things, you're flowing through life, you're making the decisions, taking the opportunities, and all of this, like you said, it's part of your journey, it's guiding you, and all of this is you're picking up the tools, right? Picking up the tools to carry on and be able as, I guess, what would you say, because we've talked about it before, but can you explain, what would you say is your ultimate, not ultimate goal, but that you would like to share this with the world, because there is something that you want to share with the world?
So I am a health coach, but really I'd like to transfer that into having my own retreat center. And I'd like to have it on a farm and to use food and the purity of the land as a healing method, so that people can learn for themselves that they can heal themselves. The idea is that the food that you eat is crucially important in so many ways. And when I was in Hawaii, and I was eating the food that I was growing from the land that I was living, and I was matching the environment. I was eating the food that's coming from that land, and so I'm eating it, and now I match my environment, which makes me not only integrate, seamlessly into my environment, but it also makes me less susceptible to getting ill or becoming ill. And that's a huge problem in our society, especially in cities, is that we are so removed from nature that we don't match our earth. And so that's why people get sick. They're not close enough to the earth. The closer you get to the earth, and whether that's from, the physical environment or the food that you eat, it's the safest way to finding health, and just being synchronized with the earth. Being far removed, we get lost, and cities have been detrimental to the health of a lot of people.
And right now you're living, I guess we'd say your permanent residence is Chicago, right? Which Chicago is a big city.
Yes.
You took this girl to Hawaii, and boom, she's learning, she's taking all these experiences, and she's out there, you're just sharing it and everything with the background in your health science that you have, and education, and the research, because you are constantly reading research, and you're constantly studying. There's not a time that you're not learning, and I love that. I love that, because we share that as well, as far as I'm in education. But that's something that we, of course, other than traveling and all this stuff that we have in common, duh. But so another thing that we've endured as our going a little bit about what we've done as our project, because we did this, you've we are going through our own journey, but somehow the world, just with our friendship, likes to bring us together, and we are now deciding, or have decided recently, to make this project. And this project is, we've started a podcast, and it's called Unraveled. And we've started this podcast with the sense of giving, sharing our ideas, and really sharing our conversations that we have, like pillow talk, pretty much.
Exactly, it really is like pillow talk.
We'll call each other, and it's just like, hi, how are you? We'll catch up, and then we'll end up having these hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, conversations about just life. And that's kind of what decided us, or kind of pushed us to say, you know what, let's share this, because we have people that we like to share our ideas with and our experiences with, and we created this podcast. So it's called Unraveled, and you can find it on all different realms. Of course, I'm out here like promoting us. This is all us and you, but a lot of it, you will see that Hannah will have, it's on YouTube as well, but a lot of it also has to where Hannah will have her approach into applying her science. So what I love about this is that our topics vary about like mental health. We'll have some topics about breathing, that a lot of that will come from your practices. So and truly, we have all these kind of tools that together we're helping to do. And you mentioned a little bit, that's just like a side thing with podcasts. But you mentioned that you wanted to, or as overall we've talked about, to where you want to have your own place to where people can find healing. And I just find that so beautiful, because
I am not the healer. I am just the one that will show you that you can heal yourself.
Yes.
Everybody has the ability to heal themselves, their self.
Okay, so, we have talked about kind of your journey, and you're picking up all these tools to share, and we've talked about that you want to create this space for, in the near future to have to where people can come in and, have your classes as a guide to, doing their healing and really educating them in this process. But for right now in this moment, do you have, we've had discussions on, that I've also taken, that I apply in my daily life. Do you have something that you would like to share, like what the community can do to kind of begin this approaches now at home, and also for the viewers watching, what they can do at home also in the moment right now, or maybe after the episode to do at home to kind of practice these holistic kind of approaches?
Yeah. So where I see myself as someone that is in between holistic and a more natural approach and science. My specialty is where those meet. I see those as truths, and so something like breathing. People get intimidated by the idea of meditation and things like that, but when in actuality, what you're doing is okay. So let's just say 30% of people on disability in America are on disability for anxiety, depression, and stress. And so that's a huge issue in our society. And so if we understood that we are able to reset our bodies so that our bodies don't undergo stress, which stress can lead to so many different kinds of health issues. And it's a huge contributing factor to things like even heart disease and cancer even, and all these things. So trying to harness simple techniques that will protect your body. And so what's going on when you're feeling stress is and this has been a big topic, but the fight or flight. And so basically what happens is your body thinks, when you're undergoing stress or anxiety, your body thinks that it's under attack. You've tricked your body into thinking that it's going to die. Honestly,
it goes into that flight, like defense mode.
Yes, and so what happens is your cells will all go to your heart or your brain, and it won't focus on any other part of your body. So if let's say for instance, if you had a virus and you're in high anxiety and a virus entered your body, you would get sick. Because your body doesn't have time to focus on taking care of the virus. It thinks it's under attack, and its primary move is going to be to get you out of the situation. Its primary move is to make sure that you're alive. It doesn't care about some small, a virus coming in. Or your food, you're not going to digest food properly. It doesn't even matter how well you're eating if your body isn't digesting food because you're under stress. You're not going to reap the benefits of what you're eating. So when you're breathing, so I won't even maybe not say I won't get into meditation, but people are nervous about meditation because people don't know where to start. They don't really get the idea sitting with themselves, it's a whole thing. But breath work and just doing intentional breathing can really reset your body, because what's happening is you're breathing and you're pushing the cells throughout your body, and you're allowing them to disperse evenly, and your cells and your immune system work best when everything is dispersed evenly. But when you're undergoing hypertension, your cells go to places that it doesn't need to be, you know?
Exactly.
So what I would say is practicing taking 3 deep breaths in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. I mean, we're talking something as simple as that. Or if you actually feel yourself undergoing stress, really remembering to take that moment to take a breath and redisperse your cells, reset your body. It'll change your life. It's such a simple thing. Breath is where the outside world is coming inside of your body. You know, it's actually a really beautiful thing. And you know, to match our environment once again, and matching your environment is so important, but to match your environment through your breath can make you feel not isolated. It makes you feel like you're a part of your environment as opposed to an isolated, you know, figure in your environment. So, and along with breath work, I would recommend getting involved in a community garden, you know, being as close to nature as possible, having some plants. Plants show us how to live life simply. There's so much to learn from something simple as a plant. And those ideas and how we work with plants are meant to be translated into our lives. And, you know, I've lived in Chicago for a while, and I was always having a garden of my own on my deck, or I've always been invested in community gardens. And not only is it just being close to the earth, but it's the community as well. The earth brings community. Farming and gardens, this is where humans meet nature. This is where we create abundance together.
So you've mentioned community garden, and can you just give us a little bit of a glimpse, like what is a community garden?
Yeah.
Can you kind of give us that?
So at least when I was in a community garden in Chicago, it's that neighborhoods will come and they will invest their time into gardens and growing things, and really it's meant, most of the time they're meant as a learning tool, because people in cities don't know like how food is grown. You know, they don't know how food is grown. So something as simple as, you know, having a space, a parking lot that has, you know, room for food, and not to mention it's going to promote education and understanding food.
Exactly.
It's going to help, you know, people want to eat healthier if they see where their food is coming from. Just their relationship with the land and getting your hands, you know, being exposed to natural bacteria, because that's a whole other issue. And why people in the city are so sick is because we all have bacteria. We're all made of bacteria. So for every one human cell that you have 10 bacteria. And so in a city, the bacteria are not diversified enough, and there's some that play detrimental roles in our health. And so a lot of people in cities, if you test their bacteria, it's not diversified enough. We need to have like all kinds of bacteria, which is why being on a farm, the bacteria there are so much. There's a plethora of different kinds. And so it makes you a more well-rounded person. If you're not well-rounded in your bacteria, then you're more susceptible to illness. So even just, you know, for your health alone, just getting your hands in dirt is really going to have a huge impact on health of people in the city.
I mean, every conversation we have, there's always something that I always learn and take from. And I wanted to share that with Kansas City. And I really hope at home that you were able to, you know, just dive in and really listen to a lot of what, you know, that a lot of different kind of points that we kind of focus on to, in the end, just well-being, right? Because that's kind of our goal. Every human wants to focus on health, live a healthy life, and essentially well-being. So is there, I know you have a lot of adventures coming up. I mean, you're going back to Hawaii.
Yes.
Is there a platform that our viewers can kind of follow you and go through these journeys and, you know, continue learning more as you dive into kind of sharing in this platform different holistic like approaches?
Absolutely. You can reach me on my Instagram at Hannah Soroka, Soroka. And Connie and I, we have our podcast as well. So Connie and Hannah Unraveled, that is our podcast. And you can be with me on my adventures and learn some things. I'm excited about it.
Yay.
I'm excited to share. Yeah.
And I'm so excited. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you, Kansas City, for tuning in once again to Here in KC with Connie Gutierrez. Thank you for tuning in to TELEVIDA, a production by Exo Films, and I will see you next week.